When I first moved here to the Emerald Coast 25 years ago, I had a ton of questions and nobody to answer them. I didn't know if I needed hurricane insurance, what areas of town flooded, or heck, I didn't even know what 30A meant. And now, fast forward, of course, 25 years, I'm the one getting all the questions and I've helped over 1,300 people move to this area. So today I figured it'd be fun to answer the top 40, it's actually 44 questions that we have been asked on this channel from people in our comment section as well as in person. Kind of categorize them in sections so that, we kind of stay on topic a little bit here. And some of them are going to be pretty fun too. It's not just going to be all answering questions, but this will be helpful for absolutely anybody that is thinking about moving here to the Emerald Coast. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And yes, for those of you wondering, we are going to talk about flooding, gators, and Costco. So our first two questions I'm going to lump into one, and that is, where exactly is 30A and what is 30A? So first and foremost, if you Google 30A, it's not going to show you a town per se. Now it might show you an area, but 30A isn't its own city. It's actually the southernmost portion of Santa Rosa Beach. So the area of Santa Rosa Beach, which is about, 2 towns over, about 10 miles, 15 miles over from Destin, Florida, which is the area that most people recognize in our area. So when you hear 30A, just think the south side of Santa Rosa Beach running the entire length all the way into Panama City Beach. And what is it exactly? Well, we name it 30A because of the road that's going through. It's called Scenic 30A. And it runs through the entire area all the way again until Panama City Beach, essentially. It technically runs into 98. Then 98 can head into Panama City Beach, but we call it 38 just because of that road, and it's a nice way to kind of just point at that area so that everybody knows what we're talking about. It's a locals thing, but it's kind of become popularized because it's a very hot destination spot. This is our luxurious part of town. It's the average price points as of the time that I'm shooting this video, like $1.2 to $1.4 million. Depending on which side of 30A that you're on. And it really is just a bunch of smaller beach towns like Watercolor, Seacrest, Inlet Beach, the famed Alice Beach, if you guys know where that is. So it's a bunch of these smaller beach towns with its own personalities. Question 3 is, are there any rural parts of Destin that people actually live in that aren't tourists? Great question. So a lot of times when you come to visit Destin, during spring break or summer, whenever it is, you're kind of seeing the condos, you're seeing the boardwalk, you're seeing, maybe you head as far east going into Miramar, going into Sandestin, things like that. You're seeing a very select portion of it. When it comes to Destin itself, it's kind of sectioned off into a couple of different areas. And we've got a great Destin playlist on this channel that has some videos that are no longer public to everybody, but they're still in the playlist. So those of you that didn't know that, our playlists have hidden videos that we had to take down because they weren't performing well, but still provide a lot of really good information. And one of those videos in there, we actually break down every area of Destin to kind of show these rural areas. But it's essentially the north side of 98 in main Destin. So right when you come over the bridge, you see the beautiful Emerald Green on your right side if you're coming from Fort Walton Beach, let's say. Everything to the north is kind of that rural area. Now, you'll see little pockets and stuff. And at first, all you see is the commercial side. You see gas stations, you see McGuire's, stuff like that. If you go behind McGuire's, that's where the rural area starts. Now, Destin's a pretty small town. When you're here, it feels packed, especially if you come here during the peak months, because it's actually only a town of about 14,000 people. During peak season, it can get upwards of 100 to 110,000 people before they have to start stopping people from coming in. That's actually happened a couple of times here. The fire marshals had to come in and be like, if you guys don't have reservations here, you got to go. You can't stay in. So it feels big, but it's actually a really, really small, sleepy little beach town. As soon as all the tourism leaves, it feels like a sleepy beach town. Next question is, how far of a drive is it from Crestview to the nearest beach? Now, at this point, we've done a lot of videos on this, but it depends on which part of Crestview you're in. Crestview is one of the more northern towns. It's an inland town. It's actually the highest elevation in the state of Florida, with like a massive mountainous elevation of like 14 or 19 feet. I don't remember the exact number. Please don't Google it and, hit me in the comments or whatever with it. The joke here is it's not that high, but so it's one of our more northern rural towns. If you're on the south side of Crestview, it'll take you about 30 to 40 minutes, depending if you drive speed racer or not. If you're further north of town, it could take upwards of an hour, depending on how far north you are. And this next one is for my military folks that might be getting stationed at 7th Special Forces. They said, hey, how long is it from Crestview to 7th Special Forces? Again, really dependent on where in Crestview you are, because as soon as you go north of I-10 in Crestview, everything takes a little bit longer. That's where a lot of the traffic's coming in off of I-10, and now you're fighting that. So again, if you're in the southern part of Crestview, 10 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, maybe. If you're on the northern part, then it could be, 20, maybe even upwards of 30 minutes. And it also depends on where at on the compound you are, because if you're deeper in the compound, it is going to take you a little bit longer. These next set of questions are going to be geared toward real estate and home ownership. For those of you that might be new here, this channel is dedicated to showcasing off the area because I'm a real estate professional. I run a small real estate team here in the area, and we want to help you guys understand what's around here. So all of my information will pop up right here on the screen. You can call, text, email, or anything like that if you have any questions. But let's get into this next batch of questions. First, are there any 55 plus developments near the beach or on the water? Not really. So our area is a little bit unique for being in Florida. There's not a whole lot of 55 plus communities in general. In fact, when I'm thinking about it, I can think of one off the top of my head in like Navarre, Mary Esther, and it's sort of like a manufactured home area. Other than that, I don't know of any that I can think of off the top of my head, but we do have a lot of condos out here that are pointed that direction, is what we'll call it, right? They're not eliminating anybody from being in. They're not saying, hey, you have to be 55 plus or older, but they center all of the events around 55 plus. They center how they communicate with everybody. And all of that. So it's going to feel like that, but you may have the occasional youngin in the area. So there are some good options for that. This next question just popped up, and I think it's a good one. It's, are there any websites or tools or resources where I can search for homes in your area without the HOA in them? Because I don't want to live in an HOA. The answer is like kind of, okay? So we don't have any publicly, and the reason for that is because what happens is the multiple listing service, the service that we have that all of us realtors put all of our homes for sale if they're actively being marketed, that syndicates, meaning it pulls information into different websites, like Zillow is the most notable one. Well, the problem is the way that they have it set up, the HOA has a yes or no button, but then it also has a numbers button, and I think it messes it up a little bit. I've never quite figured out why. Even our website, I can't fully do it. I can search by HOA price, but if I put $0 in there, it's only going to give me agents that put $0 in that block, and that wouldn't make sense to put that in that block if there's no HOA. You would just skip it completely. So that's part of the problem there. But here's why I said sort of. If you guys reach out to us, again, I'll put in all my contact information. So if this is something that you want, you can literally email us and say, I don't want to be talked to right now. I just want this search set up. We'll do it for you. So it's no worries at all. We can actually set you up on a search through the multiple listing service using our broker level access, right? You'll see it just like we do. You'll see it the exact same time I do, which is faster than Zillow, by the way. And we can set that up for you for everything that has no HOA fees. So that'll kind of help you out in there. And, again, if you don't want to be bugged or anything like that, that's perfectly fine. Just let us know what you're looking for, and we can definitely set that up. Oh, and while we're on this subject real quick, there may be follow-on questions we have. We need you guys to answer those before we can set stuff up, because what will happen is there'll be somebody out there that emails us to say, hey, I want a list of all no HOA homes that are actively on the market, whatever. And we'll be like, where? We service everything from Pensacola to Panama City Beach. Like, if we send you that list, it's going to be massive. So please, if we're asking you some follow-on questions, there's a reason. We're not going to be asking you like, hey, when are you going to come in and talk to us? And nothing like that if you tell us you don't want to be bugged about that. So anyway, let's get with the next question. Do you guys have any concrete homes for sale on the Emerald Coast? Yes, we have lots of them. Now, after talking to this person in the comment section, which by the way, we like. So if you guys ever have any questions, throw it in the comment sections. I try to get to every single one. Every once in a while I go through and I'm like, crap, I missed one from a few months ago. I'm sorry if that ever happens to you. If it does, you don't hear from me in about a day, restate your question. I'll see it for sure. So concrete homes. Yes, we have a bunch. And then when I asked further, I think they were asking not about concrete block, which is like the old 50s, 60s style of home, because we got lots of those. I think they were talking about like ICF builds and things like that, insulated concrete form. Yes, and we do have them, and we even have a builder out in the Santa Rosa area. I'm not sure exactly where he's building, that he specializes in that. We actually had an agent on our team for quite a while. She was obsessed with ICF in general, and she eventually left us to find a builder that did it and found one. And like, you know, not like on bad terms. She was just like, hey, I found one. I'm like, let's go. Like, that's what you always wanted. So we do have them out here. If you guys are curious about that, we can get you in touch with that builder. The next one I think is kind of fun is, do you have dome homes available on the Emerald Coast? Dome homes are exactly what it sounds like. It looks like half of a golf ball on stilts. Yeah, it's common enough. It's not like you're going to go down a whole neighborhood and see a bunch of them, because they are fairly unique, and it makes all the rooms, you know, a little bit odd and stuff like that. So they're not as popular as you know, maybe a standard home, a contemporary, or anything like that. But we do have them from time to time. And at any given point, we've got 4 or 5 for sale here along the Emerald Coast. Can I purchase land and then put a manufactured home on it? Absolutely. There's a comma there, like absolutely, comma, we need to check the zoning laws on that particular plot of land. So if you're using us, we'll do all of that research for you. You don't have to do anything like that. You just tell us what area or city you want to live in. We'll help you find that perfect plot that you can put a manufactured home on. We can even get you in touch with all the right people to get all your hookups if there's no taps already done or anything like that. Are there any new construction builders in Crestview that aren't D.R. Horton? Yes, we've got several. In fact, one of my favorite larger home builders out there is Whitworth. And they do have several areas. Right now, I think they're mostly doing onesie twosies. But the cool thing with Crestview is there's so much land still available, unlike all the other landlocked areas on the coast, that, that we still have a lot of builders coming in. So it kind of just depends on what you're looking for. We've got some ma and pa builders, you know, just like people that are rotating 1 or 2 at a time. Nothing, you know, it's not a big corporation. We got D.R. Horton. We had Adams. We had Lennar. And those are kind of like the bigger names. And of course, we've got custom builders and things like that too. And this doesn't go for just Crestview, but this question was about Crestview. So it's kind of the same all across the board. Of course, when you start getting into Destin, Miramar, 30A, stuff like that, you'll have a different set, a different quality of builder, but you'll still have the big names like D.R. Horton and stuff out there. And, you know, D.R. Horton gets a lot of flack. We actually get a lot of questions about D.R. Horton and Adams and Lennar, actually, all 3 of them. And it's all over the board. Some people love them. Some people hate them. Here's my suggestion. If you're going to come down here for new construction, because they're insane deals right now. And so it's so enticing. You're getting 5% interest rates. Like nowhere else are you getting this, but they're doing it because they own the company, so they can get away with it, right? They're offering huge incentives and things like that, particularly D.R. Horton right now. If you guys are long-term viewers of this channel, you've seen a lot of D.R. Horton builds on this channel. And it's with good reason. It's because their incentives are outstanding. But some of you guys have a feeling about them one way or the other. I get it. I've read the reviews. And I've helped people buy homes in areas that they didn't do super well on. My suggestion is every single D.R. Horton builder has a different superintendent and different workers and different contractors, different everything. So they are different from place to place to place. So if you are going to be buying new construction in this area or anywhere in the country, really, do your research for that subdivision. Don't base your decision off what the whole company looks like, because it is wildly different from neighborhood to neighborhood. The neighborhoods we showcase on this channel are the ones that we have really good reputations with. If you know there's a big D.R. Horton builder or any builder in the area and you're like, they're not doing videos on it, there might be a reason, or we just haven't gotten to it yet. So I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. Just know that if you guys call us, we'll let you know what our opinions are. But if you're buying somewhere else in Florida or anywhere else, just ask your professional, make sure that they're very well versed in new construction, that they know all of these areas, and you should be fine. They should be able to kind of point you in the right direction for what you're looking for. Which place is more affordable, Fort Walton Beach or Niceville? Fort Walton Beach, by a lot, like almost half. But the quality of home's different. The age of home is different. The neighborhoods are different. Like it's all a give and take. So it really kind of depends on what you're looking for. We've got lots and lots of videos on both of these cities. So go through the playlist. Again, remember, there's like hidden videos in there that we had to take down at some point because, YouTube didn't like them, or they just didn't perform because our thumbnails weren't pretty enough or something like that. Go through those playlists and you can learn everything you can about these 2 areas. But the quick answer is Fort Walton Beach is a little bit less expensive in general. And I loved this next question. I'm going to have to read some of it because it's a little bit of a lengthier one. Take money completely off the table, Andrew. Where would you retire? Regatta Bay, Kelly Plantation, Destin, Freeport, or Niceville. Now, this one's kind of funny because the first two are neighborhoods, are gated communities. Regatta Bay and Kelly Plantation are neighborhoods in Destin. Okay, very nice neighborhoods in Destin, mind you. Like Kelly Plantation used to be my hands down answer to this question, but I've got a little bit different of an answer now. And then the other three are cities: Destin, Freeport, or Niceville. I wouldn't choose Niceville personally. I'm just not a fan. There's nothing I can point to and be like, this is why. It's just not the vibe I'm looking for. I'm a single 37-year-old dude. Like, Niceville's really good for families. It's just not the vibe that I'm looking for. Destin I like, but I don't like the traffic. Freeport, if these are my only choices, if it was between those three, Freeport, Destin, Niceville, I'm choosing Freeport 99 times out of 100 right now. Freeport is booming. It's good. The prices are outstanding. Like, if you're getting into Freeport right now, in 5 years, you are going to thank your realtor and kiss them on the mouth. Like, it's going to be so, so good. But it wasn't just three choices. It was five. So out of these five, I would still choose either Regatta Bay or Kelly Plantation, depending on which home I fell in love with in one of those two neighborhoods. That's how close they are to me. Kelly Plantation is much bigger. They both have a lot of rules, HOAs, beautiful, beautiful homes, and stunning golf course, like absolutely stunning. Kelly Plantation has a little bit more to offer as far as amenities. And Kelly Plantation has one thing that Regatta Bay doesn't that I would highly, highly consider just in my current situation is they've got one place. These are two very large condo complexes you'll see if you're coming over the Mid-Bay Bridge. So you're coming from Niceville into Destin. You'll see it just off to your right side. We did a video a while back on it. It's the most stunning condos I've ever seen in my entire life. They have everything you could think of. They've got a gardening section that you can get your own little section of gardening, a cigar room, movie room, champagne and wine room, and I'm not even scratching the surface of everything they have. It's incredible. A golf simulator. Anyway, I'm not going to keep going. It's got a lot. So I would lean more toward Kelly Plantation out of those five choices. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next section, cost of living and just anything financial we're going to put in this section here. What would my family income need to be? My annual family income need to be if I'm a family of four and I want to move to the area. Okay, first off, we got to choose a city that you're going to be living in, because if you tell me you want to live in Alice Beach on 30A, I'm going to tell you it needs to be close to about 400,000, or no, probably like 250, 300 is kind of the entry level. But if you tell me like, hey, like I want to live in Navarre, like 80,000, they said live comfortably. So I'm going to say 100, 120 is where I would consider my comfort level. But that's another thing we'd have to deep dive into is what is your idea of comfort versus mine? Because they're going to be a little bit different. So that being said, if you guys are curious about questions like this, it's way better if you just give us a call, set up a Zoom call with us. You'll meet with either AJ or Kristen. You guys have seen them on the channel a ton of times, and they'll walk through a buyer consultation process with you. We'll go over the process of it, but if all you're needing is just an answer to this question, a phone call will do, and we'll kind of dig and get some further questions from you and then help point you in the direction so that you guys know which videos to prioritize whenever you see them from us. This next question is very similar, and I think you kind of know the answer based on what I just said, but can a single parent with two kids live comfortably off $80,000 a year? I would think so, very easily. It's been a while since since I was in the military, living on an income of 40 to 50,000, but I did it very comfortably out here. Now 40 or 50 probably wouldn't be great. I would assume like 60,000 maybe for a single person and about 80,000 for a couple of kids. Kind of lived a little bit comfortably. As long as you're not wanting to live in, Destin or one of the, real nice family-friendly neighborhoods in Niceville. Like, you could still be in a family-friendly neighborhood, just not one of the really expensive ones on 80,000. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind. But yes, you can live comfortably here at 80,000 with a single parent and two kids. Unless one of your kids love like Legos or something. I hear they're really expensive, but you should be fine at that. These next two questions are almost identical, so I'm going to mold them into one. I didn't realize when I was making my notes that they were basically the same question, but are the monthly mortgage payments shown on Zillow accurate? And are they accurate for condos? Because there's HOA fees and other fees that you might not think about. The answer for both is no, they're not typically that accurate. I'm not anti-Zillow for any means. I don't go on there very often because obviously I have access to all of the properties way faster than Zillow does, plus properties that Zillow doesn't have. For those of you that don't know, in the multiple listing service, we can absolutely put properties on there that don't go to Zillow, Realtor.com. They don't go anywhere except to us real estate professionals. So I have no need to go to Zillow. Last time I was on Zillow, though, they let you play around with all of these numbers. Hey, what do you want your interest rate? And sometimes we'll put it somewhere where it doesn't need to be. And it's giving you maybe best case scenario. Maybe it's giving you worst case scenario. The point is it's not that accurate. And for condos especially, they're not that accurate. And your next question might be, well, are they typically too high or too low? Yes, both. Like, I have seen some wild stuff on Zillow. So I don't go to Zillow for any of my information. If you guys are in our area searching and you've got, you're getting to that point where you're really needing to know if this is accurate, just give us a shout or email us again, that emeraldgroupfwb@gmail.com. You can email us quick questions like that. Like, we don't mind at all. You can even throw it in the comment section and say, hey, what's a $400,000 home going to look like with this payment? And then also keep in mind too, on the same line of questioning, Zillow's not going to put the homeowner's insurance and the taxes on there. Those two will change your payment dramatically. And you need to know the areas, you need to know the type of property, you need to know a lot to figure out what is the insurance going to be. If you guys have been watching our videos for a while, 2 or 3 videos ago, I think, maybe it was last week, I don't remember the exact one, but it was in the last 3 or 4 videos. I did one talking about insurance and said, hey, in one area of town, we saw $900 a year insurance and a $4,200 a year insurance for the same size home in the same city. It makes a big difference. You need to know this. And Zillow has no way of knowing how old the roof is, how impact rated the windows are. Is the garage impact rated? What about the front door? What's the spacing on the nails on the roof? Like, all of these make a really big difference. And so they're not going to give you that information. But from just a mortgage standpoint, which is what the question was, it's in the ballpark. How important is my credit score for renting here in the area? Obviously, it's important when you purchase because it's going to change your interest rate. When it comes to renting, it's so hit or miss. If you're going with an individual landlord, a lot of them aren't running anything, right? But nowadays they have Zillow, and Zillow is offering a free tool to landlords that say, hey, you can run your person through this and we'll let you know where the credit score is and what the background check is and all of that great stuff. And then you'll have others like individual property managers where they are going to run their stuff and they're going to let their owner know and give them a choice. Or maybe they have certain standards that say, hey, we don't rent underneath this portion because we're trying to protect our owners. These are all possibilities. So yes, it does affect you. How much it affects you just kind of depends on what you're looking for, what your credit score is, how much money you have, to put down for deposit. You're seeing a lot of traffic right now. If you're on the Facebook groups and stuff, you'll be seeing a lot of traffic on people complaining that they're asking for 3 months of rent or, anything like that. It is happening. It is getting more difficult to rent out here. It's just the nature of the game right now. Next question is, are there apartments for rent in the area? And of course there are. Apartments.com is one of the better resources, I think. We can't help too much with the apartments. This is one of those like gray areas where it's like, if you call us for apartments, we're going to be like, apartments.com probably is going to be your best bet. And then knowing where the apartments are, driving by and just calling them. So a lot of them, they'll just have a big billboard out front. I would assume that they all put them on apartments.com. I hope that assumption is correct. I love this next question because it showed that they're very well informed on real estate in general. And they ask, is Florida a full disclosure state? Let me start by saying what a full disclosure state is. The answer is yes. Actually, I'll start there. Yes, we are. Full disclosure basically means when you are purchasing a property, if either the seller or any of the real estate professionals involved in the transaction know about something wrong with the home, they are supposed to legally let everybody know, including you as the purchaser. Do some people do shady things and never say anything? Yes, it happens. But you at least have some recourse if that does happen. Are there going to be things that come up after you close that nobody knew about that maybe, it just happenstance that after you moved in, something happened? Sure. The very first home I ever purchased, the day after I moved in, 24 hours later, I'm moving my furniture in, AC took a dump. Some people would say they must have hidden something and known. Other people, and I'm in that boat, went, well, stuff happens. Move on. I had a home warranty, so I called them. They fixed a $900 fix for a $45 service fee. So yes, we're a full disclosure state, but that doesn't mean things don't happen or people aren't shady, it's really rare. Again, we've helped 1,300 people, give or take. And the amount of times we believe somebody has lied to us is like maybe 1 in every 300. Like, it's pretty rare. Maybe 1 in 100. Let's do 1 in 100. All right, let's move on to a different section, local lifestyle and community. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this, please put a comment down below. It really helps me figure out like what style of videos we should be doing. I know you guys have been liking the out and about videos. We're actually showing the neighborhood, showing the houses and stuff like that. We try to do that about 50% of the time, and then I try to come in here and just give you guys information 50% of the time. But if you like one over the other, let us know, and I'll, kind of adjust to what you guys are looking for. All right, how is homeschool in the area, like the homeschool community in general? If you would have asked me 5 years ago, which, I've been in real estate about 11 years, so this is even while I've been in real estate. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, homeschool community, I don't really think it exists. But now I've got two girls with homeschooled kids on my team, and I realize how prevalent it is. And I also realize how much support there is for it. There are field trips for them, which it blew my mind. I'm like, wait, they're homeschooled and they go on field trips like you're taking them? They're like, no, they're going with a group. There's homeschool communities on Facebook. There's homeschool mommy groups and things like that. There is a pretty solid vibe of homeschool stuff out here, but it's not going to be the same as like going to a school where they're in an environment like that all the time. And then there are also like these, it feels like part-time schools. I wish AJ was here in the office. I could actually ask her because she knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. But they're like these little mini communities where you can like drop them off and then get acquainted with people, which I think is really good because at least when I was growing up, the homeschool kid that came to your senior year, like one year of getting acclimated with people, they were always they weren't used to everybody. We'll just leave it at that. So I think it's really cool that they're doing that stuff early, and it does feel like the homeschool community is pretty good out here. All right, this question came from a nurse, and she was asking, are there a good amount of hospitals for me to find a job at? I've got some pretty in-depth information on this because my little sister lived here for a while, and she is a RN, I think. I think that's like one of the higher ones. And anyway, she came from New Mexico, and then she ended up moving to Washington. And so she's been at all these places. So I've gotten firsthand experience. So that's why I'm labeling that now so that you understand. There are a lot of jobs out here in the healthcare industry in general. It's Florida. I think anybody that does a Google search will know that there's a ton of jobs out here for that. But they don't pay that well from what I'm understanding. Again, my sister, she was in a tiny podunk town in New Mexico getting paid better than she was here in this beach community of Florida. She moves to Washington, gets paid better again. So I just don't think they pay that well, but I do think the opportunity to get a paying job is pretty high out here. And on a similar subject, the next question is, are there any VA hospitals in the area? Yes, we've got two big ones very, very close by. The first one being in Fort Walton Beach. It's actually right outside of Eglin Air Force Base. It's technically attached to it. You just don't have to go on the base to get in there. That's the one I go to. I'm a veteran as well. So I go there to get my checkups and stuff like that. And then occasionally they have to send you to one of their bigger hospitals, and the nearest one is in Pensacola. So depending on where you're living, it could be, 15 minutes to an hour drive away. Of course, if you're like all the way out in like 30A, it's going to be like an hour and a half. But yes, there are VA hospitals, and the Pensacola one's pretty good. The Eglin one is actually pretty good too. But the Pensacola one has everything you could need. Like, it is a big, big hospital. This next question, I was debating whether I was going to put it in the funny section or not. But it is, are there any malls in the area? And I was just laughing at it because I think malls are kind of a dying thing. And here in our area, we've got a big, like, actual indoor mall in Fort Walton Beach. It's called Santa Rosa Mall. And I'm just going to say it bluntly. I'm sorry if you're watching this and you work there or something like that, but it's a dying mall, and it's dying at a pretty good rate. We've got Dillard's is already gone. I think I just heard JCPenney is closing very soon. And so it's just sort of this mixed bag of stuff. There's a gym in there now. Like, Planet Fitness is in this portion. They were talking about turning a portion of it into apartments and stuff like that. So yes, we have a traditional indoor mall. The next best one is going to be in Pensacola. So, however long of a drive that is from wherever you choose to live. But we do have outlet malls, a lot of them. And we have the Silver Sands outlet malls, which are freaking huge. I was just there yesterday shopping I was trying to get some new sunglasses. You never find ones that fit my face. I don't know if my nose is crooked or what, but anyway, I went out there and I checked like 3 different places. This place, it goes on for there's gotta be over 100 stores here. Individual name brand stores like, Oasis and Reebok and Nike and, all of those, they've got them. It's an outlet mall. It's covered. As you're walking, you'll just zigzag through all the covered areas. So It won't be outside. We are in Florida. It is pretty warm. Keep that in mind. But we do have some pretty good shopping that way that isn't the traditional mall. Also, make sure you stick around all the way until the end because the last set of questions are absolutely hilarious. I picked the funniest questions that we have been asked here on the channel, and I just had to put them in here to have a little bit of fun at the end of this video. So if you make it that far, you'll get a little chuckle. All right, next up is, do we have a Trader Joe's or a Costco? No, we don't. We don't have either one of those, and I don't know why. It sounds like both of those are going to be great. We do have a Sam's Club, which I hear is nowhere near. Whenever you tell a Costco person we have Sam's Club, they don't like it. They're not a fan of that. But we do have it. We've got a Whole Foods. We've got, there's another smaller one that gives me Trader Joe vibes, but it's not Trader Joe's. I can't think of the name. It's like a Healthy Market or something market in Destin. But no, we don't have Trader Joe's or Costco. This next question was purely just fun for me because I love shouting out this company any chance I get. It's my favorite. But it is, what is the absolute best breakfast in Navarre or on Navarre Beach? Navarre and Fort Walton have the same, same company. It's the best breakfast place you'll go to in our area, and it's called Shark Bite. They specialize in breakfast burritos. That's it. You don't like the tortilla, you can get it in a bowl, but they do breakfast burritos. They're delicious, and they come with this like chipotle sauce that they make. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. That's the best breakfast right there. Does this area have any dog-friendly beaches? Sort of. Walton County, which is like the Santa Rosa Beach 30A area, they do have a registration you can fill out. They have so many that they give out every year. You have to get your dog DNA tested, pay for it, and then up it every single year. And you have to be an owner in that county. You can't be in a neighboring county and you have to be an owner. So yes, you can there, but they are strict about it. Every other county that we have, not really. We do have dog-friendly beaches on the Sound side or on the Bay, right? But not on the Gulf. And on the same subject is, can I have a fire or a fire pit on the beach? Sort of. Again, yes, with a permit in certain areas, and it has to be in a fire pit. I don't think we have any option to do a straight up fire. Our sand is made from crushed graphite from the Himalayan mountains 100,000 years ago that washed in all this other stuff. I don't think a direct fire on that sand would be healthy for it. It might discolor it and get rid of that white coloring over an extended period of time. We do have companies out here that offer fire pits that you can pay to do like events, and they'll put beach chairs around it and rose petals if you want, and they'll decorate it however you'd like. You just got to pay for it. All right, now this next section is probably the stuff we get asked on the most. I wanted to put it in the middle because you guys hear us talk about this all the time if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, and that is weather, nature, and safety. So first one is, are hurricanes a concern, and what is the wait time for repairs if they are a concern? Yes, they're absolutely a concern. We are in Florida. We can get hit just like the south part of Florida. We haven't gotten hit as much. I'm knocking on wood on that. It's been a long time since we've had a very hard-hitting direct hit. We did have a very close call that hit Panama City Beach, which is kind of in our area, a couple of years ago. I think that was 2018 that caused some pretty good damage. But the last one for most of the Emerald Coast was like in 2004. Maybe it was 2005. I can't remember the exact year. And then previous to that, like 1980 something. That was Opal. I don't remember the exact, the exact year. So you can kind of see the spread of how long in between. Hurricanes are absolutely a thing. Like we can 100% get hit this year with it. We just have to know. We just have to be watching it. And if you live here in the area, you're watching it because everybody around you is watching it. They're asking, hey, the hurricane's looking close. Are you evacuating? Oh, I'm in evacuation zone C. I don't need to yet, whatever. So we're just watching it. We're being careful, and you take the precautions to make sure that you're safe. Hurricanes are a big, big question we get asked, and they're just, I don't know. I've lived here long enough now that maybe I'm laissez-faire about it, but I'm just like, it's just part of it. It's, it's coming. We have a week and a half in advance to prep for it. And if it hits us, or it looks like it's going to, we just jump in our little cars and we drive away and we go on a little vacation up north a little bit. Now, the second part of this question was, what are the repair times if we get hit? Let's say the most devastating direct hit that we get, there's going to be repair times for sure. You're going to see tarps on roofs for a couple of months, maybe upwards of 3 to 6 months. But for most hurricanes, none, like almost none. Like if we get one, that come through, Cat 2, Cat 3, most of the damage is going to be pretty light. Our infrastructure is built to handle that. Our houses are built to handle it. If you're right on the water, you might see a little bit more. If you're in a manufactured home or, a trailer or mobile home, something like that, you might see more of it. but you're going to be in a different evacuation zone. So you yourself should be safe. Make sure you keep insurance on your houses, and it shouldn't be too devastating. It will definitely be disruptive, but it shouldn't be too devastating. Do I need separate insurance for my home, like hurricane and flood? Yes. Hurricane comes with all of our insurance out here. That's a really common question. A lot of people think this is a separate insurance. It's not. It's called wind. And we have it built into our standard homeowners insurance. Flood, on the other hand, is not covered. Water damage is, flood is not. So what the difference is, what we tell people is falling water versus rising water. You're protected on your homeowner's insurance from falling water, right? Hurricane rips your roof off, water falls inside, causes damage, you're good to go. You're not good to go. You're not in a fun place, but at least your insurance is covering it. Okay. Now, if it rises, it just rains and rains and rains and rains and rains, and then it floods. That's when you need flood insurance. So at the end of the day, yes, you can get flood on your home. If you're not in a floodplain that requires flood insurance, it's about $350 to $400 in most cases. If you are in a flood zone, then it could be a little bit higher. What areas are most likely to be in a flood zone? Areas near water, for the most part, because again, that's what they're worried about, is rising water. A lot of people think flood is for the hurricanes and stuff, but as I just mentioned, not really. It's for the rising water. So if you're on the Sound, if you're on the beach, if you're on a lake, if you got a creek in the back of your house, possible. That one's pretty rare. I've got a creek in the back of my house, and I don't need flood insurance on mine. So that's going to be for the most part. And we don't have a lot of areas that are actually in a floodplain. Like if you actually look at the FEMA map, you can go online and type in FEMA flood map enter your city or your county, and it'll show you in a nice color-coded map which areas need it and which ones do not. The next question is, I heard when I move there I'm going to need pest mitigation for termites and things like that. What's that look like? Do I need it, and what's the cost? You absolutely don't need it. We do suggest it on almost every type of home, unless, of course, you've got a composite type material in your home that is termite proof or termite resistant. But for the most part, most of us have it out here. I can't remember exactly the cost. I think your initial is like $800 to get them to set it if it's not already set in. If you're purchasing a resale from somebody and they already have it, you just take over. Just make sure you go through that process, because when it relapses, they'll charge you that extra $1,000 or $800, whatever it is, to redo everything, because they want to make some money. But they'll put bait stations around your house, and the termites will start eating into that first. And whenever they check every quarter, they'll see it and go, oh, hey, we've got something here. We're going to spray the house down. Just be safe. Check everything. But I think I want to say the quarterly cost is like $100-something. It's really not that much. I pair mine with pest as well for like spraying for bugs. I don't like palmetto bugs. If you guys are longtime viewer of this channel, you've heard me talk about palmetto bugs, cockroaches, whatever you want to call them. They're all the same to me. I don't like them. So I get sprayed every quarter as well. And then anytime I see a bug, I call them, and Terminex comes right out. Like literally the next day, they spray it. They'll even go inside, find some holes, stuff like that, spray that. And I think I pay $145 a quarter. I might be off by like $15, but it's relatively inexpensive. The next one is, are solar panels problematic if I buy a home with one? I'm just going to say, are solar panels problematic? Yes, they're very problematic. Anytime I hear one of our clients say like, hey, we're thinking about getting solar panels on, I'm trying to stop that with all of my power, because I know at some point I'm going to have to help them sell that home. Solar panels seem like a great idea, and the salespeople are phenomenal. They're so good. But the problem is there's just a ton of problems with it. They don't appraise right now. They're not getting any value. Most of the time they need to get paid off before you can sell off your home. And guess who doesn't want to pay for it? The new buyer. They're going to get all of the benefit when you pay it off. So you put $90,000 of solar panels on thinking that you're going to live there forever. And 5 years later you leave, and then you're going, well, I want to sell my house, but I still have $50,000 on this. You're going to eat that cost. So you think you're saving, you're not going to. A lot of times they have issues with it damaging the roof. A lot of times they have issues with it not covering what the salesperson said it was going to cover. But now they're long gone. There's a reason why, if you search, these solar companies are popping up and collapsing within a year or two. Popping up, collapsing. It's because so many people are having issues with this. They're getting sued. They're getting people down their throats. So they shut down the company and restart a new one with a new name the next week. Same employees, same everything. They just do that to get everybody off their backs. Solar panels are one of the biggest hot topics in real estate right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's where I'm leaving that. Even if you think you're going to live there for 30 years, please do not do it. Not right now. Technology gets a little bit better, maybe, but not right now. Oh, and the question was, original question was, are they problematic when I'm trying to purchase one? Yes. Your loan, whoever you're getting your loan from, isn't going to pay for that. If the home is worth $300,000 with $50,000 of solar panels, they will not give you $350,000 to buy that home. They'll give you $300,000. So either you're paying for it or the seller's paying for it. And now you guys are butting heads. You're in love with the home. You want it, but you don't have the $50,000 to spend in cash. The seller can't. They need that $50,000 for their next house they're buying in Wisconsin or whatever. Well, now we're at odds. It makes it very hard for them to sell the home, and it makes it hard for you to purchase that home. All right, the next one's kind of fun. Are there alligators here? Yes, of course we have alligators here. Are you going to see them all the time? Not unless you go to Fuddpuckers or the zoo. You'll see them all the time at those places. Fuddpuckers is a restaurant. They have like a moat of alligators. I can't make this up. This is Florida, okay? We have a moat of alligators outside of one of our restaurants. And we have children, 15, 16-year-old kids that will hold one of these little baby alligators, the rubber band around its mouth, and just walk around like you pet them while you're eating gator bites. This is a real thing. I'm not making this up at all. That's about the only time we see gators out here. I have seen on a few occasions gators at the golf courses, particularly here in Fort Walton Beach. One of the courses has a couple of gators, around 2 of them, and then one at Hurlburt Field. They actually have a lake called Gator Lake, which, as you can imagine, has a gator living in it, so you see it quite often. But that's the only time I've ever seen a gator out here. Are there lifeguards on duty at the beach? Yes. Most of the time. Every beach is going to be a little bit different, what their hours are, where they're at. Are they driving around, or are they sitting up in, a big building or whatever? Most of the time they're just driving around. At least that's been my experience, but it is hit or miss for every single beach in the area. What time does it get dark in winter? Like noon. Okay. It's not noon. But it really is, or it's like 4:35 o'clock at the worst timing. Worst meaning the earliest it gets dark. It's as soon as it swaps over, it's so much fun because you're like, oh man, I've been working so hard. It's dark when I get home. But then after like a couple of weeks, you're like, I'm done with that. I want the light. So it gets dark pretty early in the wintertime. All right, now before we get into our humorous questions, we do have a couple more questions about community vibes and military cultures. So if either of those are important to you, stick around for these next 3 questions and we'll get into the real fun ones. All right, this next one I love. In the military-heavy cities and communities, I'm not military. If I move there, am I going to look like an outsider, or am I going to feel like an outsider? So I think mainly what they were asking in this question were in cities like Niceville, Fort Walton Beach, and Crestview and Navarre. These are probably the most prevalent ones to have military folks in. Then a little bit in Gulf Breeze, for the Naval Air Station over there. And of course, Pensacola, where the Naval Air Station is. Am I going to feel like an outsider when I'm living there? Not at all. The military community in general, maybe I'm biased because I'm prior military, but in general, they're extremely welcoming. You're thrust into an environment when you join the military where it's a diverse pot of everything. And you got rich kids in there, white, black, brown, like it's just a mixed everything, okay? And you get thrown into it, and then you're friendly with everybody. It's just part of the culture in general. And again, this is just my personal experience. More often than not, probably 80% of the time when I meet a military person or prior military person, a veteran, they're so welcoming. They just feel like our kind of people. Now, you get 2 veterans together or 2 military folks together, it's not going to feel welcoming, right? Because we're going to be jabbing at each other, whatever, but it's friendly jabbing. It's literally all in good fun. And it is super friendly, even when we're kind of jabbing on each other. So you won't feel like an outsider at all. Is Navarre noisy with all of the planes and the flyovers and things like that? So great question here because right next to Navarre, we've got Hurlburt Field, which is right next to Eglin Air Force Base. They share a runway. They each have, a couple of cross sections there. So we have a lot of takeoffs and landings and stuff happening there. And that in itself, you'll hear them from time to time, but for the most part, you're not going to hear them all the way in Navarre, let's say. So I'm going to kind of do this as I know the question was asking about Navarre. I'm going to do it for the whole area. If you're in any of those cities that I just mentioned where you're around the bases, you will hear stuff. For 100% sure, there will be planes flying over. There will be planes flying over low. One of the things that I did when I was in is I used to fly the MC-130P. It's a variant of the C-130. If you guys don't know what it is, you want to look it up. Not going to go into it too much further than that, but we would fly here at home station here in the area at about 300 feet off the ground, and it is a noisy, noisy plane. So if it flies over your house, you'll hear it for about 3 seconds, and then it'll be gone, and it won't be so loud that, like, if you're listening to your TV, in your living room on your couch, you probably won't even notice it happened. Like, it's not that loud. But there is one thing that does get loud. two. There's two. So first we have F-35s out here now. F-35 is probably the loudest thing that's ever been created ever. Kind of joking on that, but they're insanely, insanely loud. If they fly over your house at 5,000 feet, you will know it. I don't care if you're blaring music. You'll hear it. It is loud. And second, Eglin Air Force Base is a very, the main intention of Eglin Air Force Base is as a bomb testing center. So the reason why Eglin Air Force Base is the largest Air Force base in the world, or at least in the country, I'm not going to say the world because I don't know that for certain, is because of land mass, not because of the number of people. They have a lot of land mass because they're testing bombs out here. So this question was about Navarre, so I'll speak to that specifically. There are several different bomb testing areas northeast and northwest of Navarre, and southeast and southwest of Milton, if you guys know where that is. So when they're dropping bombs out there or doing controlled bomb tests, yes, you will hear them. If you stay in the know with the bases, they'll tell you like, hey, we have a controlled detonation is what they call it, at noon today. And so at noon, when your windows shake and all of that, you'll feel it, but you'll know, right? And if you ever don't know, that's probably what it is. And then the very last thing you might hear are the gunships. So the C-130's got a variant with 3 guns on it, or 2, depending on which variant it is. And one of them is a very, very, very big gun. And you'll hear it. It'll be flying at generally about 6,000 to 8,000 feet in the air in a circle. You guys may have seen the little, maybe we'll put a picture up or something of it flying around, and it's just doof, doof. So you'll hear that from time to time, but it's not going to shake your windows like the controlled detonations do. All right, last question in the section before we get into the fun ones is there gang activity in the area? This one's an iffy one for me because I am a real estate licensee, so I have to be careful when it comes to crime or anything like that. But I can speak in generalities, okay? But if you call me and you say, hey, this house is in this neighborhood, or the gangs are, or more dangerously, is this a safe neighborhood? I technically can't answer that directly. But if there's an overall blanket question, are the gang activities in the area? Of course. I don't know of a single town of the populations that we have that don't have some sort of gang, whether they're wannabe or real. I don't know. The only gang activity I ever hear about out here, I hate to even laugh at this, but it's motorcycle gangs. And I laugh because they do some dumb stuff. It can be scary, I guess, if you're around it. But between you guys and me, like, motorcycle gang? Okay. It's out here, I guess. You very rarely hear about it, but occasionally you hear something. Like we just had one of these motorcycle gang folks. And this is super rare, by the way. I want to emphasize that. That apparently like pulled a gun on somebody over by the Harley Davidson shop and then dropped a pipe bomb or something and ran away. Didn't hurt anybody, didn't do anything, but like, come on. So the short answer is yes. Not trying to scare anybody off, but yeah. But if you dig deep into any town, you're going to find silly stuff like this. There's a lot of people on this earth, and a lot of them just aren't always thinking. All right, let's get into some of the fun ones. This first one I had to put in here, and I'm actually so glad that I did, because as I'm shooting this right now, AJ actually walked into the office, and this comment was specifically about her. So if you guys are long-term viewers of this channel, you've seen AJ on our videos before, and the question is, are the doorknobs in Florida really high, or is AJ just really short? The doorknobs are normal. They're normal height here, okay? AJ's just really short. The second one I've been giggling at for like a good minute. Somebody actually commented this, and they say, hey, if I move down there, will people hit on my wife? I don't know. I don't know your wife. You're in the South, right? So I don't see it as being inappropriate. I don't know if this question was for real or not, but like I don't see people on a large level being inappropriate to somebody's wife just to do it. This isn't, I mean, you've got kind of the Southern charm here with like a military beach vibe. Like, I'm not seeing it that much, but it could happen for sure. Like, you go off to the bathroom, you're at a bar, somebody thinks she's single. I don't know. But I don't think people are going to be walking around hitting on your wife just to do it. Maybe I'm wrong. Next question is, what is a snowbird? This one's a little bit funny and a little bit serious on the same note. Snowbird is just a term that we use for folks that are trying to escape the snow. So it's just like a bird flies south for the winter. They're flying south for the winter to get away from the cold. So typically they'll come down here. They'll rent out our condos during the off season where they'll get phenomenal pricing. If you ever want to get really good pricing on coming down here and looking at our beautiful beach but not being able to touch the water because it's too cold, Come down during the wintertime. You can rent these same condos out that you're paying $2,000 a week for. You can get them for $2,000 a month, during November, December, January. So that's what they do. They come down here to kind of escape the cold. And I don't blame them, because our winters here are pretty mild for the most part. We do have about 2 or 3 weeks, which is too much for me. Like, it'll be in the 30s. Not for me. All right, this next one is pretty cool. This must be somebody that's familiar with the area. They said, can you still bring and ride your horses at Beasley State Park or any of the beaches? I haven't looked in a while, but I'm pretty sure the rule is still out there that, yes, you can bring your horses on the beach. It's actually kind of this like weird thing. We can't bring our dogs. You can bring a horse. And I know Beasley State Park is one of the areas that I've even seen horses out there from time to time. It is really rare I'll see a horse out on the beach, but it does happen every once in a while. And the last one, which is just my favorite one, I actually didn't see this one when it first came through. So if you're watching this, I laughed at this way too hard. They asked if, why do I look like a greedent? We're going to put it up here.
Who's that Pokemon?
And put a little picture. It's a Pokemon, apparently. And I kind of see the resemblance. It's kind of funny there. But anyway, those are the top questions that we've been asked here on this channel. I really appreciate you guys watching this. As I mentioned before, we do cover Pensacola to Panama City Beach and everything in between. So if you have any questions, all of our contact information will come right here. You can call, text, throw a carrier pigeon, throw a football with a note on it. However you want to get a hold of us, we'll be here. Then, of course, as always, we will see you guys next Tuesday at the same time. See ya.